One. Hello, welcome to my channel, The Ascension Guide. I'm your guide, Joe Martin. Today we have a little something different. I'm really excited for this. Excited to introduce a fellow person on the same mission of awakening, I suppose, that we're going through right now. This is Sam, the Illusionist. Sam, welcome. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joe, for inviting me today. And it's a pleasure to talk with you. Even though I'm in India and you are somewhere in the States, I believe. And
Yes.
it's always like wonderful to have the opportunity of exchanging this knowledge so that it will help someone in the journey. Because I believe many people, they are getting a lot of they get confused, what should we do, or what's the process, what is this all about, they get confused. So many a times these type of sessions, the interviews that we do with you and with other people will help people to get a clear understanding of what it's all about. And sometimes it may take people to a little bit step outside their comfort zone, because many people they have this like fixed belief. They don't want to change anything, like some people, they don't believe in aliens, so they will never believe in aliens entire life. Okay, like it's weird. you know Even if there is evidence, people will say, oh, this is fake. Okay, so we need to at least. So that's what I learned. And one of the best things about trying new things as well, and some new information which can help other people. Like, it's important to step ahead and try new things to get a deeper kind of understanding. So yeah, that's and how I started. So you said a brief introduction, right?
Yeah. I would love to know your, I'm sure people watching would love to know how this all started for you. Like, I mean, if you want to go back to how you started channeling, or like, was your awakening at the same time, or was that two different stages?
Yeah, back in the day, like approximately 1 year ago, I was not interested in spirituality at all. Okay, like,
Mm.
I used to be, what they call normal people, right? Like, people who are like, totally like, confused. They don't know what's going on. Okay, like I was like a bit unconscious. I would say, I was a bit unconscious, like being controlled by the society programming, and what people are saying and stuff like that. Now, looking back at me, I was like, like what they call normal people. Okay, in fact, these people, they are unawakened, and most of them, they are unconscious. Okay, like they are being controlled by other people as well in the media, the mobile phone companies, the devices, the in Facebook, Instagram, all of these things, they are like impacting people, and they are unconscious. They are not conscious yet. And I was like that. So one day, what happened was that I used to do like street magic and perform hypnosis on other people. So I, one day was listening to one like hypnosis tape while I was just laying on my bed, and suddenly this like voice came through, which sounded like my mother told me, like it sounded really like different. And like from that day, like I was like I was forced to awaken, in essence, to get a greater understanding of what is actually happening in our world. Because look, okay, like there are people who are still unconscious now. There are two choices. Either you will want to find out what's going on this planet and why you are here, or you will just keep on sleeping, and then you'll die, and then maybe in the next incarnation you will try to look at why am I here, right?
Right.
The big
Right.
question all have is, why am I here?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one of the questions. After that happened, I was like, look, okay, I used to study like science and stuff, when I was young.
Yeah.
But this stuff, that I have been experiencing. This is like beyond what has already been covered by the scientific community. And
Yeah.
the people that I have seen, like people in the scientific community also, they are very close-minded. Okay, there are some scientists who are open-minded. You will see this, okay, even on YouTube and stuff. There are some scientists, they are talking about extraterrestrials. Now that is open-minded, right? But
Yeah.
there are some scientists who will say, no, aliens do not exist. It's like they will say that for like until they die. Okay, like this is one of the like scary things about society, like the fixed mindset, okay,
Right.
like not accepting to not accepting new things. And yeah, that's one of the things I learned is to to look at this. There is a scientific framework,
For sure.
there is a science behind how this is happening. And we just need to look at this, okay, like people whenever we say telepathy and stuff like that, they will laugh, okay. Most people, they 99% people will laugh like, what the hell is this guy talking, okay. But it's proven, okay, like we have a
Mhm.
subconscious connection. And we can transmit our thoughts. Some scientists, they have proven this aspect.
Yeah.
And in the future, maybe people will gain a greater understanding and reach into the level of consciousness wherein they will be able to experience new things. So I believe you and I, we have the purpose of at least trying to bring this concept to the human collective. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, like like in the beginning, like less people may see it, but it's at least a push in the consciousness is pushing the barrier, right? And
Right.
the more we can push the barriers, I believe in the future there will be communications without any devices, like telepathic
Yeah.
communication. Yeah,
True.
because once we understand how this works, okay, like we don't need any devices. It's like this stuff is next level, okay, and
Yeah.
this will happen in the future as per my channelings.
Yeah.
So I believe we need to be ready for like be open-minded. And yeah, that's how I started.
So I got like 10,000 questions that came from that. But the first one, do you know who the first being was that contacted you when you were in that channeling session that your mom said sounded different?
My mom, actually, she doesn't like understand English. Here we speak in our local language, which is Nepali,
Mm,
and she doesn't understand English. So unfortunately, she was not able to make out who that was. But
mm,
she sent me to the doctor for a checkup. Fearing that I was, suffering from some medical condition. And even the doctor here, they are unaware. Look, okay, most of the time, we trust doctors, we trust scientists and stuff. But they are also like human beings. They are also being programmed, okay. They are also being heavily programmed by society. They are unaware, okay. And
right.
when we look at something different, many of the doctors or scientists, they will like, they will not accept it, okay. They just want to stay in the comfort zone. And this
Right.
is the sad part of humanity. We believe, sorry, okay, call
No
someone called me.
problem.
We believe that we believe that like we give our, like this authority of our free will to someone who has a name like doctor, okay, or a
Right.
scientist, professor. Whenever we go to such people, we give our 100% faith on them. And
Yeah.
we believe them. And this is really one of the things that I had to learn is that they can be wrong, okay. Look, they are human beings.
Yes.
They can be wrong. They can be doing it for their own self need. They can be doing it for money. Because
Right.
it's a human nature. They may be the part of the human collective who are totally unconscious, but they are acting as a doctor, okay, and they are playing the role. So this is one of the things that I learned. And I found out through my research, what actually was happening was, during the trance state, these beings, it's the second session, I remember it was from my higher self, I believe, who was trying to come through.
Mm,
Because what I realized was that, when I think, this happens with other people as well. When you have some problem, you constantly think about that problem in your mind. And then even at nighttime, you may see the dreams, related to that, query you have in your mind, right? So I think that happened to me in the beginning. I believe I had, at that point, right now, I don't have any like, like problems and stuff like that. But that time, I think I had some problem, and I was repeating it over and over in my mind. So it
mm.
went to my subconscious, I believe. So those
Interesting.
people who knows this, may understand that the subconscious is like really powerful, okay. Like we normally operate on this conscious mind. Like we think we are like deadly, okay. Like just because we can judge someone, we can say, okay, this person is crazy because this person is channeling, or they're talking about aliens. Doesn't
Right.
mean that, yeah, it doesn't mean that we can do what the subconscious mind is doing. Now consider this, okay. Your subconscious mind is beating your heart. Can you beat your heart by we cannot do this, look. And this is also one of the sad parts, is that we instead of trusting our like subconscious, most people, they trust heavily on the voices in their head. Okay,
Mhm.
people, they are identified with the voice. If the voice says, this is bad, they'll like 100% believe like, wow, this is so bad. I'm like, and most people, they ruin their life, because of this voice, which
Yeah.
is very critical. One of the things that I learned from channeling is to, you know, uh, identify and recognize that you are the consciousness, or you are the creator. Okay, in
Yeah.
essence, you are one who can, even like look at the thoughts or the words that are coming in your mind. Right?
Yeah.
You have to be conscious. This is what it means to be conscious. I recognize. Okay, and throughout my channeling experience, I have gotten a lot of experience about this, and I believe most people need to understand this aspect.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they will be victims to their own mind. They
Yeah.
may do some stuff which may be because of the thought, okay, because of that word, or
Yeah.
because of that sound in the head, okay, whatever the sound in the head which is repeating negative stuff. Most people,
Yeah.
they are like suffering a lot because of this.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the stuff which I uncovered from channeling is to become conscious of what is happening inside you.
Yeah.
Okay, once you become conscious, look, okay, it's very simple. Like most people, they say we have to meditate. No, we don't have to meditate 40 years and 100 years and stuff like that. It's very simple. Just become conscious. Just like take the back seat, and just recognize what kind of like voices, or what kind of words, and what kind of images you are seeing in your mind. And
Yeah.
you'll be like, you'll see, okay, that it's really like really dangerous place. Okay, if it goes unconscious, it's a dangerous place.
I agree. And it's funny because like, you know, once I channeled about, similar stuff to what you're just saying right there, and how like some of those voices aren't even ours. Some of those are negative influences that are chirping in our brains that are, telling us to do things. And once you figure out that, and then you can even ask like, who is this voice? And like I learned that from somebody else, and I was like, wow, that's a whole new level right there, when you can literally ask who it is that's, bothering you. What is it? Myself? Is it somebody else's? And understanding that. But so many people, and myself included, until I mean this past summer, I had no idea. I thought it was just that's how my brain's wired, and I have all these negative thoughts and angry emotions or whatever. And then once you realize that somebody's in there messing with your mind, it's like, oh, and then you can control it. It's very empowering.
Yeah, right. That is one of the things, I think, not only like, us as humans, we need to learn, but I think it's required for us. Okay,
Mhm.
so it have been like, society, calls it being normal. Okay, like being identified with, I nowadays, like I see, people, once you like start observing yourself, once you start, seeing the thoughts, like you said, sometimes, the thoughts may be from like some other place, like if you just observe, you'll be like, why am I thinking this stuff, right? Like, this is weird, how come this stuff is coming to me,
Yeah.
right? You'll be like, sometimes, and most people, they're unconscious, they will like believe every thought, and then they will enter into this whole loop.
Right.
Now, those people who are, yeah, those people who are watching, I would like to, just try it and try to, observe yourself, and you will realize that, whenever, you have a thought or something, it always appears in two shapes. Okay, either it will be an image. You will either see image of a person, or image of some place or some situation, which will be linked with some emotion. Okay, now you are being used by an image. Now it may sound really funny, okay, but you are being used by an image, and
Yeah.
that image is using you so badly. Okay, some of the people, they imagine their enemy. Okay, for example, maybe some people, they are angry at someone, and just because of, even if the person is not near them, just because of the image popping in the brain, they will go through this whole spiral of emotion. And they, what they're doing is they're attracting that timeline. Because from my channeling sessions, I also recognize that whatever you feel in your body, like predominantly, okay, if it like goes to your higher self, and the higher self is like, okay, you need this, I will give you. Okay, right? So higher self is ready to give you, but you just like shot yourself in the foot, right? You
Mhm.
asked for the thing, so you'll get more of that. And I believe this is one of the things that we need to be very careful of, because if we go unconscious, right, we are giving our power away to someone else, to
Yeah.
some situation which may not be the best thing for you. So this is what I have learned many a times, from this
And you
channeling.
just like summed up the law of attraction for those who are watching, because so many people think that law of attraction is putting up a vision board and thinking about the money that you want. And it's what you said, it's being that emotion, because that's what you're going to attract. If you're feeling that, anger, that's what's coming towards you. If you're, whatever that emotion that you're vibrating in, that's what you're going to attract. And I think a lot of people get confused with like that, The Secret. I don't know if you've heard of that. And the law of attraction, these people post all these videos like, and it's like, yeah, you're almost there.
Yeah, you said a very good thing, because most people, what they do is, they are focusing on the top layer, okay, like creating a vision board. Okay, that's good for yourself. But if you don't feel it, right?
Right.
If you don't feel emotion, if you're still feeling like, suppose, let's say you want to be successful and you're still feeling like lack in your body, right? And you put a vision board, I don't think, you will be successful. And, from my channeling sessions, what they have said is that we have something known as a silver cord, which connects with our higher self. So
Mm.
in essence, that's the process. Okay, they have given us the process of how this works. So we need to feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, we can use our thoughts. We can use our images. We can use words to stimulate our emotions. And this is the way. Okay, like when you feel the emotion, it can travel up. Through your energy centers. Go through your silver cord and then reach your higher self. And then higher self is like, okay, so this person is vibrating in this
Mm.
type of vibration. So there are like infinite possibilities in the in the what they said was like there is a field of something known as quantum field or something like that. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like a time space field or something like that, wherein there are infinite timelines. So they will put you depending on a vibration, they'll put you in that vibration. Okay, because you have given an order that you as being a creator. Now this is like very interesting. Okay, like each of us are the creator. Now
Right.
most of us, what we do is we identify like with our name. Okay, we identify like very heavily with our name, and we identify with our body. Now just because like some people may not have the desirable body they want. They feel sad. Okay, but that is the wrong thing. Because I believe bodies can be interchangeable, because
Yeah.
we are not our body, we are not our mind, we are not our thoughts, we are the consciousness. Okay, we are the creator, okay, who is experiencing uh you know life in this body. And next time it could be in your body,
Right.
in a different body, right?
Yeah.
There is no need to identify with the outside, like 3D concepts or 3D world. And I believe this is one of the mind programmings that society has done for a long time. So for people to like latch out of this programming, okay, will take like heavy soul searching for some. And this will, I think this is important to be done, not only by us, but I believe this should be done by every single person. And this is the reason why this lack of understanding that you are not the body is why we are seeing many like politicians and people who are doing bad things to other people, because they don't understand. They are still trying to separate. Okay, they are still
Right.
trying to separate people based on their their body, this clothing. Okay, based on the clothes they are wearing. Okay, like,
Yeah.
so this is really like one thing we need to understand. Like, we are all just the creator. We are all just like the water droplet
Yeah.
from the same ocean. From the same ocean, just the bottle is different. Okay, like the bottle may be like some different companies. Okay, and we are getting confused with the bottle instead
Yeah.
of looking the inside, which is the same. This is
Yeah.
like so mind blowing. Okay, like this stuff. I need to tell you, this stuff needs is the first thing. If like in the future, they can change the education system, or whatever they are doing. This stuff should be taught in the beginning.
Right.
Before teaching any other, because children, they get identified with their name, and with their it
Their
begins the whole.
ability, all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So an interesting thing you said about the body that I thought was interesting, because I have, like I've said, I've watched a lot of your videos before, and there's been a few times where the person that you're channeling has said that you need to rest or you need to eat or something like that because your body is. So I thought it was interesting when you said about why people hate their body or whatever, but maybe ask why you have that body, because I've kind of had that same similar thing. and actually I channeled that one of the reasons that I keep extra weight is because some of my channeling sessions go almost 3 hours. So having that extra energy to sustain for that long. And when they said that, I was like, huh, and it made me just totally not even care about my weight anymore. I was just like, oh, well, if I need it for that, then who cares? You know what I mean? And so it was like, maybe there's a reason why your body's, you set up this lifetime the way you want it to be. So maybe you set it up that way for a reason to have that sort of body. So maybe think about it from that perspective and understand what lessons come with that body or what reason there might be to have that body. So, but I thought that was kind of cool that you mentioned that.
Yeah, before incarnating, I believe, we can like choose into what kind of, like bodies we are coming. And yeah, what you said was really interesting, because if you are really like, so if you have weight, right? You mean to say if you have extra weight on your body, does it like help you during channeling?
Well, what they were saying is because fat can be burned as like an energy source. So
Oh,
essentially I'm burning and I'm because how I don't know if it's the same for you, but like especially the first couple times I channeled, like my body felt like it was shaking like this. And I was just burning
yeah,
so much energy. And they said that to do like those long, because yours are usually what, around 20 to 30 minute sessions or so.
yeah, that's it. 10
Yeah, and I've done
maximum,
like close to 3 hours a few times. So they said like how much energy it takes, to burn, I'm just burning a lot of, fat essentially through that process.
oh, okay, that's a new like thing I learned, like very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, you're right. Maybe because my body is like, I have like less fat. I am like very thin,
Yeah.
considering my weight. So I believe that could be
Yeah. Well, and
one
I
way.
got
Increase.
some of the, because they I don't know how they communicate with you, but like I get, I do the channeling sessions where we go in and do the whole, but I also get like images and I'll get thoughts and words and stuff from them too, communication, stuff like that. And that was one of the things that they showed me was how, like, one of the sessions that I think they recommended that you go eat an apple or something like that. And
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were showing me that, like, and they were like, you can sustain longer because you have more weight on you than, and I was like, oh, that actually, but it was just interesting that, so you've actually been a big part of my whole process, in and of itself, just by me finding you. I didn't even know anything about channelers. I mean, you were the second channeler I ever found, really, other than Daryl Anka, Bashar. But then I got hardcore into your videos when I would watch your videos all day at work, just sit there and listen to all the information that you were channeling through, and I was loving it. And then, like I said, eventually I ended up channeling myself. But um, who do you have a favorite entity to channel, or are they all kind of like your children where you can't really pick one?
I think I like the Pleiadians, because in one of my past life sessions, they said that my first, like, when I was starting my first density, like first level of learning, I was in the Pleiadian star system. So like, yeah, like it feels like, I don't know, like I just feel like I feel close to that place.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, yeah, just because of that, I really like to channel them. And
Hmm.
sometimes
They're
information
beautiful
is
energy
on.
too.
Yeah, very good. Like, you feel really fascinating changes in your body as well, and the energy is also like very uplifting, and I like them a lot.
Yeah. Do you you've channeled some of the angelic realm too, haven't you? You've channeled like Metatron and some of the other, yeah. So
Just-
when you go into your channeling sessions, do you just have the intent of who you want to talk to, or how does that work? Or does just whoever wants to come through comes through?
yeah, just by having an intent, it's really weird. Okay, like, our intent, is like so powerful.
Yeah.
Just by having this, okay, like, um just that small little intent, will do it.
Hmm.
It's like, like telepathic, like a kind of communication, I believe. Or
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know what happens, when you have this intent, within you, that you can, like, compare this to a normal life situation. Maybe you are going to, like a supermarket to buy something, and you have this intention, right, to buy that thing. So,
Yeah.
you will like not go towards that, right?
Right.
And yeah, I believe that the intention is very, very, like, powerful thing. because it's underlying, it's underlying, okay, like it's below our, like, thoughts, so
Like the
it's the
telephone
base.
number, basically, huh? That's how you dial them up.
So how do you, like, I want to know, like, how do you, like, do it?
So I never, like I said, I never planned on channeling. I went to go get a past life regression done, and about halfway through the session, Archangel Ariah came through and just started saying all this stuff that I had to do, and was kind of telling me about myself and, sort of stuff like that. And then we went back and did, I believe there's 8 channeling sessions that we did. They're all between an hour and 40 minutes to 2.5, 3 hours. And I just finished writing the book yesterday of all the messages. I just transcribed them word for word, everything that was said in the but yeah, I mean, so I'm assuming that, I mean, if I can channel, I can probably channel anyway, although I've only ever channeled them. But that's why I love to talk to, like you, because I'm curious, like, how this process works and developing, it into, a skill that's, because I think this is some of the most helpful information that you can possibly get is these channeled messages. I mean, so much information that I've learned and grown from just from watching your channel alone has been amazing. And I think that we evolve, we'll hear these messages and everything just starts clicking all of a sudden. And it's like, so it's so powerful to, have people that can do this. And I think us being able to, because I know another lady that I just met not too long ago where she can channel pretty much just sitting right here, like she can see them, and like they're just, so I'm trying to get to that level. And that's what I was curious. I was going to ask you, do you have any type of communication like right now, or when do you have to be in that like hypnotic state, or do you get like messages or images or anything like that?
Like, normally, like, I only can do it during channeling,
Mm,
because during the waking state, what I have noticed is that, I believe this is true for other people also, that there may be disturbance, like, your own thoughts, okay, just imagine throughout the day, how many, like, images, thoughts, and how many of them are created by your mind, your
right,
ego mind. A
right.
lot, right?
Yeah,
So, how do you decipher?
it's
Okay,
hard.
so it's very hard. I don't know
Yeah.
how they are doing it.
So
Right?
I'm still learning, but I will say when I first started, like the first couple of weeks that I was channeling, I was going like a couple of times a week. And I go to this special like building, it has all these crystals, and like we do this whole, because I know that you channeled also that, like, it can be interfered with by the negatives if you're not properly, I know you did that too. Um, but like it's yeah, I mean, the process going through and the hypnosis technique and doing all that, and then like it just came through and started channeling. So I didn't really have, I mean, maybe I did have the intent prior to, but I don't know that I said, hey, this person. But I would be really curious to try it, the other way. But the discernment part, when I was going those first couple times and I was going and kind of my vibration was really high, it was very easy to tell the difference. The messages were very clear, very like especially the images was like, oh, that's not mine. I know the difference for sure. Like it was like basically I'm looking at you right now. It was that vivid in my third eye. And then same thing with the messages. It was like, I know that's their voice for sure. No doubt about it. So
Okay.
um but then after that I kind of had a dip and I haven't necessarily got back to that clarity point yet where it's like that clear where I'm like, yep, that's them 100%. Like when it is them and it comes through and I know for sure, it's kind of, it's hard to explain how I know the difference, but it's like, okay, that, where it just kind of comes out of nowhere and it's like a different voice and it feels different. And or if I'm asking a question and then it cuts me off and answers, like I know that's not me cutting myself off, so it's like there's certain things
Yeah,
like that I kind of learned to. One thing that they said too is to listen for the way that it's talking. So if you say I, it's you talking, we could be you or them. And then if they're saying you, obviously that's somebody else telling you to do something. So kind of pay attention to the words that they use too, can help discern.
awesome. Yeah, that could be one way. Like, if we are able to, like, keep our vibration like really high,
Hmm.
like, our mind empty, and yeah, I can accept that.
Yeah.
That could be a best way.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what we're heading to anyway, once we do the whole, like how, that's what I wanted to get into too, now that I'm kind of bringing it up. But this ascension process that we're going through, I know you've channeled about the 3D to 5D, and I know a lot of other channelers, I've channeled the same thing. That's a lot of what my book's about. So what's your interpretation of what is happening and kind of the timeline, and just what's your, that you've gathered from all the different channelings that you've done?
Let me give you like simple, okay, like whatever from, like if you listen to the sessions, the language may be like different, and sometimes you will not understand it in a single go.
Right.
The final, what I have learned throughout many of these sessions is simply, we have to do two things, okay, in this incarnation, if we want to graduate. Okay, it's very simple. We need to either, choose the pathway of service to others, or choose the pathway of service to self. Okay, now if we stay in the middle, we will have to incarnate again on a different planet, because Earth is currently, the Earth is cycling into the fourth density. So all the beings, fourth density is fifth dimension, so 5D. Okay, so some people, they get confused. So Earth is cycling into that, and because of the vibration. Okay, just imagine if you have a container, of a certain vibration, and all the smaller, like things you can keep in that container will be of the same vibration. So in a similar manner, okay, we need to like change our vibration. Now, how do we do this? Is by choosing the pathway of service to others or service to self. And it's very simple, like service to others, like just helping others, being compassionate, forgiving others. And service to self is like, not thinking about, other people's, just doing it for your own, need, like, not for a win-win situation, just for your own benefit. And yeah, if you make the choice, you will then either go into the positive or the negative. Okay, now if you want to go into the positive, now most people who are listening to channel messages, I believe, they are not doing this to go into the negative, right?
Yeah.
Most people, who go to the negative, and I believe they are unconscious. Okay, like they have been programmed, and they are unconscious. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, without knowing that, like after they cross over, or after they die, they'll be like, they had lived an unconscious life. So you know yeah, so the negative, I don't think, most people who are watching our channeling sessions, who are in the spiritual community, most 99.9% of those people, I believe, are in the positive,
Yeah.
because they have this intention. Okay, they have, just because of having an intention, okay, that you want to, go this way, you will automatically go there. Okay, like it's
Right.
subconsciously, like your mind will like take you there because of the intent, right? We
Yeah.
talked about the intent in the beginning, and other thing we need to do. It's very this thing, most people will miss this. Okay, like even I had missed this in the beginning. What they were trying to say is that, right now, okay, like they have explained this in like few sessions back. We have this like chakras in our body, right? Now we are in the third density, okay, which is heavily like dominated by the yellow ray. The yellow ray energy center, they call it. Okay, now this chakra is predominantly, like very heavily dominated by the egoic mind. Now the egoic mind is composed. Now let me break down, what the ego is composed of. Okay, most people say, ego. Okay, but what is the ego, right?
Right.
The ego simply, let me tell you, it's actually not only the voice you hear in your mind, but also the images. So your ego is not only composed. Most people say, the voice in the head. No, it's not only that. Okay, like from previous sessions, I know that they said, even our images in our mind, we can be heavily controlled by this. And
Hmm.
the egoic mind, is using us in essence. And when you begin to look at your own self. Okay, now for example, I have felt this myself. Okay, like if you're sitting down, like just meditating. Okay, just you're meditating, and your egoic mind will like send a image of you playing the phone. And then if you are unconscious, right, if you're unconscious, you will wake up, and then you play the phone. Now tell me, who is controlling you?
Right.
You are being controlled by your egoic mind, right?
Hmm.
Now this is where we need to rise above. Okay, if you want to go into the fourth density fully, okay, we need to take back our control, because this is an instrument, right? Our mind was supposed to be an instrument, but it's using us. I told you, like people try to meditate, and they say they cannot meditate. The reason why is because, they are unconsciously like, being controlled by this egoic mind. Either
Right.
the voice, is saying, okay, it's time to listen to the music, and you will have this image of listening to the music. And then if you trust this image, if you are not aware that this is just an image, right? This is just an image in the mind. If you're not aware of that, and if you're not aware that this is just a voice, this is just the sound, right? If you're not aware of that, and you believe, this image to be you, then you know what? You will do that. Okay,
Right.
nothing can stop you, because you believe that, the image you see is you, and the voice you hear is you. You believe that. But when you step back, okay, now when you step back, you will see how crazy this is. You will see how unconscious you have been. You will
Yeah.
see how why you have not been able to meditate. A lot of people tell me, no, I have not been able to meditate. This is the basic reason. And I don't think like many people, they are aware of this. Just by becoming aware that the voice that is coming inside your head is just sound, and it's just words. It's an alphabet. Okay, maybe it's remembering your ex, or your loved one, or whoever, just for controlling, just trying to control you. It's in essence trying to manipulate you. And 95%, I believe, people are totally unconscious. And
Yeah.
this is, we need to like just be conscious. Okay, just become
Yeah.
conscious of, just when you start to observe, you'll be sitting there, you'll be meditating, and you'll be like, oh, so here is that image again. So you will be conscious next time, you'll be conscious like, okay, so so you'll be like, okay, you cannot control me. Okay, look, I am greater than my mind. So I'm not doing what. So you'll be conscious the next time. So it will help you, not only in meditation, but also you will find out, it will you will stop yourself in many cases. Okay, like whenever someone is saying something, if you had been unconscious, you would be like directly reacting, right? But if you are observe the words and images, okay, so my egoic mind is saying to do that, right? So it's very funny. You'll find it very funny. Okay, like you'll laugh at this stuff if you just observe it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is what we need to do. We need to like go above it.
Right.
And then we will we will feel, when you do this, like even during meditation, you will feel this kind of loving energy. It will like it will come. Okay, when
Yeah.
you do this continuously, like when you're not controlled by this egoic self, your true nature will come. And then you will feel this feeling of like completeness. Okay, you will feel this wholeness. Okay, now I know like many people, they are like looking outside for the validation, for happiness. And they become addicted to someone else. Maybe they are in a relationship, they become addicted to someone else. It's because they're feeling this lack, right? The lack is created because you are being controlled by your ego, and
Yeah.
you don't know who you are, in essence, the creator. So when you rise above that, you will feel this wholeness. Okay, it's this completeness. It's greater than even if like you get a Lamborghini or stuff like that, you will feel the happiness for a certain period, right? But this 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 never goes away.
Right.
This is like a whole new level of like happiness. You'll be like so happy, like, I feel so complete. I don't
Yeah.
care what happens. Yeah, this is a whole different level. So this is how we know that the fourth density is the heart ray energy center. You will feel it. Okay, I'm telling you, just those
Yeah.
who are watching this, you just need to try it. It's very simple. You don't need to go to some like cave in the mountains to meditate for 40 years to know this, or for 100 years. You
Yeah.
don't need to do that. You don't need any guru to teach you. Okay, look, that time has gone. Okay, now nowadays, like common people, we can just make the change. Just
Right.
try it for yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I thought it was interesting. You actually brought up, excuse me, a few points there that I wanted to, but the meditation one where you said so many people say they can't meditate. And I think that's it right there. Oh my God, I got something in my throat. Excuse me. I think that's it right there is it's not that you're not having thoughts that come into your brain when you're meditating. It's the ability to say, okay, next. All right, next. We're done with that. And just, you're pushing them on through, letting them come and letting them go instead of sitting there and perseverating on them and saying, oh, now I got to pick up my phone or call my ex, or all those different things like you were saying. It's not that you're eliminating thoughts entirely, it's that you're allowing them to come and go, without paying them any attention, say, hey, all right, we're done with that. And then eventually you become clear and everything just becomes still. And it's I think that people get caught in that, like, fighting their thoughts and fighting their, and thinking that, oh, well, if I have thoughts in my head, I'm not meditating. It's like, no, you just need to learn how to let them go, and then everything will become clear. And there's like that little, distinction where people just, so many people I've talked to said the exact same thing. I can't meditate. I can't clear my mind. I can't do it. And it's like, well, first of all, if you say you can't do something, you're never going to be able to. So that's, the first step is getting over it and saying you can. But and then the next phase is understanding what it really is. It's just sitting there and being in the moment, really. I mean, that's what meditation boils down to, is sitting here. I mean, right now we're meditating, and we're sitting here in the moment, enjoying the conversation, and that's a meditation in itself. So I think people overcomplicate things at times, and they think that because they're not reaching this like Zen paradise in their mind the first time they close their eyes, that they're not meditating. And it's like, it's really not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. What you said was very true. The thing is, you'll have thoughts, okay, like, because our like, because our like mind has been programmed since the moment we have been born. Our parents, they were unconscious. Yeah, our
Yeah.
friends were unconscious. They were talking. They were having images. They were believing that for such a long time. We have been programmed. Like,
Yeah.
so it will take some time to, first time, when you hear something different, like, what we're talking about, many people who are hearing this for the first time may reject it. They were like, what the
Right.
hell are you talking about? This is so weird, right?
Yeah.
But when they like just give it some space, and they will open up a whole new level, right? So
Yeah.
this is the same thing you said was very true. Like, we will have thoughts, okay, like the thoughts will come, like, I have to do this, I have to do that, and all the kind of stuff. But you have to realize you are like the consciousness, okay? You're the consciousness, and the thought is coming in your consciousness. So okay, you have to realize, okay, so this is just a thought. Why should I believe it? This is just some alphabet or a word. It oftentimes, like in the session they said, it oftentimes begins with a small word.
Yeah.
Like, suppose, my brain wants to, like my what's the egoic mind, wants to, like, take me to this, like, spiral of thinking. It will just, start with the word Joe, okay, like, about you.
Yeah.
So, think of the image and the emotion and the experience, and you will be like entering into this whole different dimension if you believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing is just to, like you said, just like when it comes, you realize, oh, right now, I'm not going there, okay, like it's not the time. So you just let it go, just take your attention off of that, and do it many times. Like you said, one moment you will reach this like state where like nothing, right? Like there is nothing coming in your mind. Even if
Yeah.
you're searching, you're like looking for the next image, right? To like
Yeah.
discard, you're looking, and there is nothing. Like, wow, there is this like emptiness, and that is the moment. That's the present moment. Many people, they say it, this is it. So
Yeah.
it's in essence, yeah, not that difficult. Like, we have to try it.
And that's when the channeling happens too. Like, I don't know how it is what you see. I mean, when I'm channeling, well, it goes two ways. From when I first start, it's just clear, everything is white light, that's all I see. And then they'll just start speaking through me, or sometimes they'll show me images and I'm like kind of translating the images, I guess. Is that similar to you?
Yeah, mine actually, when I go into trance, I pretty much don't remember anything. Like, it's like
Yeah, when I come out, I'm
going into,
like, it's like a dream kind of.
you have to rewatch it, right? You're
Yeah.
like, what happened? Yeah, same
Yeah.
thing happens with me. When you just watch it, you're like, what the, this stuff is like in the, you're like, wow, right?
Yeah.
This information is good. Sometimes, I feel that. And it's like a dream, like it fades away, like moment by
Right.
moment, after. Yeah, same thing with you, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
When I first
Awesome.
come out, I'll have like, well, it's interesting because so we go through like a hypnosis where she like walks me down the stairs and the whole thing. When I'm coming back up the stairs, I remember everything until I hit that like top step. And then it's like memory just got wiped. And I'm like, I have all these things that I want to talk about that I remember from the session, and then it's over. And then I don't remember anything. And then somebody will start talking about something. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That was in that. I just remember this whole chunk, or whatever. But yeah, until I, go back and listen again, and I'm like, oh man. And the funny thing, tell me if this happens to you. Sometimes I think I remember how things went, and I kind of, it goes through my brain, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, I totally misinterpreted that, or misremembered whatever it was in my mind. So does that ever
Sometimes,
happen to you?
yeah. Sometimes it may happen, like creating like a false memory type of thing. Yeah, this yeah it can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that it's very similar to you. So have you, through this process, like opened up any other gifts? I know we were talking about like telepathy, and like have you ever heard of Uri Geller before? I know he was
Yuri Geller,
a
I think
spoon bender
he was
guy. I'm sorry.
he used to do he used to do magic, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know him from like when I used to do magic. He used to
Yeah.
like bend spoons
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So I just
Yeah,
watched
but
a documentary about him not too long ago, and through my awakening and everything, and like, are you familiar with Reiki healing?
oh yeah, distance
Um,
healing, right?
yeah, you can do it right on somebody or distance healing. But I just learned how to
Yeah,
do it not too long ago,
yeah,
and it kind of like, I'm like, well, all that is energy manipulation, right? You're channeling energy through you to heal people. So where else does that go? You know what I mean? And then that Uri Geller guy, where he's bending spoons and doing all this other telepathic things. And he was like, I don't know if you know much about him, but I watched this whole documentary about him, and it was talking about, they took him to like Stanford, and they were testing him with like these different cards that they would put in locked boxes, and he would be guessing like 100% of the time what it was, and like all these different like telepathic abilities. And so it really got my wheels spinning. I'm like, well, where can we go with this? Like, how far can we take this? Like, and I know I've channeled a little bit about the telepathy in the future and like different types of healing that we'll be able to do and stuff like that, but I'm curious if there's any other kind of gifts that have started to open up for you since you've kind of had your awakening and stuff.
yeah. One of the things that I like have noticed is that when you become like like conscious of your own like thoughts, of your own what's going on inside you. Many a times you can notice other people, like if they are you can notice their emotion. Okay, like you're walking by
Mm.
someone. Okay, I have noticed this like even yesterday. I was walking by someone, and you can see their face, and they have this angry looking face. So from that you can presume they are thinking something angry. Okay, now it just you just need to know about their life, and you
Right.
will be able to telepathically figure out, oh, okay, so that's their problem, so they're thinking about that at the moment. So I think we are at this like transition. So
Right.
in the later stage, I believe this will become even highly advanced,
Yeah.
to the level that we can like accurately say what the person is like thinking in their mind and stuff. Yeah, so I believe we are going through this evolution slowly. And one of the things I noticed is that the mobile phones and stuff, they really distract you, right?
Hmm.
They really like they I think these devices they just sometimes when I'm even like after meditation, I'm waking in this like beautiful energy, and I go back and check my email, and I'm like like again in the same like that energy, right? Like it's again in the, if I check my WhatsApp, again in the same like energy, right? So I believe these devices, there is something like they may be created for maybe preventing some people from like actually like having this high level of ascension. I believe, I don't know, it's crazy,
So
right?
that brings me to an interesting point, because I've said this for a long time, and I'm somewhere in between. So I don't know if you've ever heard the expression that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I'm
Yeah,
somewhere stuck in between the conspiracy mind of everything was intentionally done to prevent us from ascending, and that some things were done with good intentions, that just, like public education or some of these other things, like how much of it is intentional, dumbing us down, preventing, ascension process, and how much of it was, there's the duality of everything, that there's the good and the bad side to everything. So what do you think? What's your personal, or what have you channeled that, puts your opinion wherever it is?
I think what we are seeing here, this is the result of being like unconscious. I believe these phones and stuff, they were created by some person who wanted to feel good on an egoic level, to show to the world, like they are special. They created this device, they created this technology like the atom bomb. Wow, right? So
Hmm.
I'm the only, I made this, right? To feel, I think the egoic mind, because people were like heavily like unconscious, and their egoic mind if you're not like conscious of what is going on in here, this stuff will drive you to do things like crazy. Okay, like this
Mm.
stuff will drive you to do things like make you to do things like make you more like competitive, I believe. Make you more try to like force to like do, I have to like reach this level of like peak of my I want to show to the world, my friends, I want to show that person who said that that thing to me last year, right? That
Yeah.
kind of that is how these things came into being, I believe. And
Mm.
there are like few things which have been created from a state of peace, and there are very very less things, and I don't know, like it's you will find this very like interesting, is that those things which have been created from the ego, I believe they just come and go, like they just come and go, like, they come and they then something else comes, and that thing is like forgotten forever. But the
Yeah.
things which come from this completeness, like the teachings, even though some of the teachings may be like like wrongly written, but just imagine 2000 years ago, right? Jesus, Buddha, right? All of these beings, that's one person. And tell me one was created 2000 years ago. There will be like not many things, okay? Like there will be only a few things which actually survive the long duration of time, and I believe
Mm.
this is so the reason why when we create from our egoic mind, right? This is like from our mind which is using like trying to force things into creation. It may be created, but it will not last, because it's not created with the essence, that complete essence of like inner knowingness of the creator. And this is also the reason why I believe those teachings, there are many teachings from a long time back, right? Those teachings, they have survived because they were actually, even though some of them may be distorted, right? But they were created with this completeness, with I believe the essence of the creator, and that is why they are surviving. Even like they will survive for a long time, let me tell you that
That
much.
makes a lot of
And
sense.
yeah, so that's what I think, like this stuff is happening. And you can see it, like technology, like changes every year. I mean,
Yeah.
this mobile phone I'm using, like in 5 years from now,
Yeah.
no use.
Right.
It will be
Right.
something different. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that you said that, because one of the things that I've channeled about the Bible, we were talking about before we started recording a little bit, but they said that basically what happened is Jesus and Buddha and these other ascended masters, whatever, were teaching the stuff that we're trying to tell, essentially, the same messages, the love, the one, all that, we're the creator, all that stuff. They saw the truth in the teachings, they saw what it could do, they also saw the opportunity in how they could distort it and use it to control people. So they said, if you read the Bible or any other religious text, if the message resonates in love, then you can accept it. If it resonates in fear, then it's distortions. And so it's kind of, they said, an easy way to kind of navigate your way through some of these texts and stuff. Because like you said, I mean, there's so many layers to the religious, texts and stuff. Because one, like we talked about before, there's, the misinterpretations that could happen in the channeling sessions or distortions. Then you take that and you take, once the negatives or whoever got a hold of the actual text and the editing and re-editing and omitting and the, additions, subtractions, all that. And then on top of that, you take ancient languages that have been retranslated how many different times over how many different years. And, even with that, you say, well, it's in English, you should be able to understand it. Well, go read 16th century English literature and read 2021 English literature and tell me it's the same language, because it's not. So it's like you have all of those factors into those texts. But so I think that was what they were trying to get across, basically, was if it resonates in love, accept it. If it resonates in fear, then it's that's not the message that they're trying to get across.
Yeah, I think if we were to meet like Jesus and Buddha and all the other beings from that time, the message will be different. Okay, like just for example, like I'm hearing your voice right now. Like you have a certain like tonality. There is a certain energy behind your voice, and you get a different sense. When you actually hear the person, right? And
Yeah.
just imagine, right, exact same thing you said today.
Right.
99% of the message is lost
Yes.
because it's recorded in like this one form, right? The words. There is
Yeah.
nothing, like there is no tonality, there is no energy. And if we were to directly meet with them, it would be like very different energy.
Yeah.
Okay, like it would, wow, right?
Yeah.
This they like, truly enlighten. You can feel it. Okay, like I believe you will feel it when
Oh,
you
I
are listening
totally
to.
agree with
Yeah,
that. And I think as I was writing my book, I was saying the same thing to my wife the other day, because there's so much inflection in the voices, and knowing when it's being sarcastic, or knowing when they're joking, or knowing when they're being serious, or kind of tongue-in-cheek type of stuff. And it's like, I hope it doesn't get lost in the text, because like you said, the same thing, a text message, you send a text message to someone and they read it in whatever mood they're in. You were trying to be funny, and then they read it in a pissed off mood because they were having a bad day, and then the whole thing's changed, right? And it's the same exact words like you just said, but it's a whole different message.
yeah, exactly. Like, and this, I believe, like, the form of communication, like the words and stuff, actually were created by our egoic mind.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah,
I
because
was
our egoic wants to
look at how
label
much
everything.
miscommunication, and like I mean, just wars alone, I mean, based on miscommunications of not understanding people. And like you just said, with reading that, with the text messages or the text being read wrong, we could eliminate all of that with telepathic communication. And you're knowing exactly what I'm trying to get across, the emotion that comes with it, what I'm trying to say exactly, instead of my best ability to describe it with my limited lexicon that we have. So it's, yeah.
Right. Telepathic communication would be 100% like accurate, I believe.
Yeah.
Even, when we are like trying to vocalize something, because of the language we use, it becomes distorted, even when we are like talking, right? So
Yeah.
even our messages, there is a high chance they are distorted, because look, the language we are using is the language, the framework, there is no like, completeness in the language. So in telepathic communication, I believe there is completeness, right?
Right.
We can like send this message, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, all forms of communication right now, they are like pretty much, I believe in the future, in the coming like, time, this will change. And
Yes.
once telepathic, people will be like, hey, telepathy is so beautiful, like we can people when they get something better, right? So for example, right now we are using Facebook, and if something better comes, everyone will leave Facebook, right? If it's better, this is better, right? They
Yeah.
will leave that, right? We
Right.
just need to create something that's better. So
I
we need to
agree.
create it. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
just, yeah.
That's definitely, I totally resonate with that. And I think that that's where we're heading, like you said. But I just imagine, I mean, it's awesome that you and I in two totally different parts of the world are able to communicate right now. But I mean, if you didn't know English, this communication wouldn't be possible. So with telepathy, we would totally eliminate the need for, different languages and all that stuff too. So it would just totally open up the lines of communication throughout the whole world, and get rid of misinterpretations and miscommunications and all those other things that, have really, separated us for so many years. When, like you said before, we're all the creator, we're all one here, experiencing consciousness in our own way and figuring it out for ourselves. But so many people get caught up in that separation, that illusion of separation. And I think telepathy would go a long way in, reuniting so many people, because there's not that language barrier, that culture barrier so much anymore. It's all there that we can learn and, help interact with each other. Because that's what I think is, some of the coolest thing since I started doing this YouTube channel and stuff, and started on my own mission. Like, I have met so many people from all over the world who are doing this exact same thing that we are, in their own way. We all have our own mission and our own way that we're going about this. And that kind of leads me to my next question with you: is what else do you feel like is your mission, just to kind of spread the message, or if they kind of, or do you feel like there's more to your future, or where do you think this takes you?
Yeah, actually, I think there is I might have something else in to do also in our collective consciousness, but I don't know what that is. Okay, like because the like it happened with you, like it just happened randomly, right? The things, certain things, they come at the right time. Like I believe when you're ready, you because they are preparing you for that experience, right? So if you're not, they are actually, what they're doing is they're taking small steps, okay, like to helping you to reach your goal,
Yeah.
right, without like shocking you. Now if they directly take you to the goal, you're like shocked out of your mind, like it will be like so huge. So they're slowly,
Yeah.
slowly and steadily, I believe, they are introducing this. And it's that is the best way, I think, like slowly, you know to
Well, I
push
definitely
you.
don't think today was any coincidence. I definitely think you and I were meant to connect and definitely do some. I actually have some ideas that maybe we can discuss. I've discussed with another lady I told you before the channels, but one thing I think would be very cool, like you do, your channeling sessions, but maybe even if we could set up a Zoom call and you could channel or I could channel and we could, do like an interview with the, person that we're channeling or something like that and post the videos would be something that I think would be super cool.
Yeah,
Another idea that the friend of mine had, but I had to do with her, was to put two people into a channeling session with a third person as like a moderator so that the interdimensional beings could also kind of communicate with one another. So it's kind of a three-way, to see different perspectives on the same question or topic or something like that. I thought would be, so I don't know if you're interested in doing that, maybe something in the future, but I think that'd be very cool.
yeah. You know what's the weird thing about my channeling is that I have tried like this Zoom sessions. What they said in the session when I tried it, I was connected, and they said that because of the thought forms coming from the person who was watching. So the person's thought forms, they will, whenever I'm like getting the message, those thought forms, they get mixed. So they said it's not, yeah, that happened. I don't know about you, okay, like I experienced that.
I've never
Someone had
tried. Yeah, that's why I was curious. I'm curious how, like, what we could do and explore with it. Yeah, so but that's interesting. And it makes a lot of sense because of the wavelength you're on, I suppose.
yeah, that may happen, because this happened with me
Hmm.
not a long time, like this was the first time I was doing it, and I went into trance, but that was the message I got, like the other person who is watching, right, they are thinking like so many thoughts while you're channeling, so it may like come to you, like, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe we could try it and see what happens and just see if we can, control it. Because one thing I was curious about, and I forgot to ask you earlier, you had mentioned about you come out of your session and you feel really good and high vibe and everything, and then you go check your phone and it brings you back down or whatever. Do you do anything to like protect your energy to make sure that your vibration isn't being touched by other beings or anything like that? Like, do you use Palo Santo or yeah?
Yeah, before I like do the session, what I do is I take a cup of water, and then I just say like beautiful things to that water for about 4 or 5 minutes, to let it simmer in that energy of positive vibration, okay, and then I drink a little bit, and then I rub it all over my body, so that this is one of the things they said for me to do, rub it all over my body. So that way, and this is scientifically proven by there is one scientist note from Japan. Okay,
Yeah,
uh,
Dr. Moto or something. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
he has proven this. So this stuff is not like
No, yeah,
stuff
it's
is like
amazing what
woo.
those things change into, like the different crystal shapes and stuff with the different vibrations that are sent to them. So one thing they were just telling me to tell you is, and this is what I learned too, if you just imagine yourself in a white ball of light with a gold shield around it, and then just the gold shield only allows the highest of white light and vibration to penetrate through, and everything else is not allowed. So they told me to do that all the time, especially if I'm looking at my phone or around other people, going to public, anything like that. And then do you guys have Palo Santo wood over there, or do you have access to
Didn't get you.
that? Palo Santo, it's a
Palo
type of wood.
Santo.
So what about
uh,
sage? Have you heard of saging?
Saging.
Like
We have
burning
incense.
sage? Yeah, it's just like
Incense.
that. It's called smudging, I guess some people call it that. But you burn that, and like this was crazy. Like I had some negative stuff attached to me, didn't even know it. And the first time I ever experienced that wood, the lady lit it and put it around me or whatever, and I could feel it lifting off of me. Like I felt like 10 pounds lighter immediately. Like it was incredible. um but I was so unaware of how the computer interactions, people can send things, if you can send Reiki energy, or they can send the opposite also, you know what I mean? So it's very like, it's a very vigilant game is what they told me, is because I had quite a few experiences where I kind of had to learn the hard way with my protecting my energy and stuff. But it's a very vigilant game, and especially for people like us, because we're doing the work of the light, so we're more vulnerable and we're more targeted by the darkness. And so they told us, we got to be vigilant with our energy at all times, otherwise they're going to take advantage. And that's when those distortions happen and manipulations and those thought processes like you were talking about. And if you get caught in one of those loops, sometimes it can ruin your day if you're not consciously aware. But yeah, they told me, try that and see if that helps you. Just anytime you're around other people, just imagine yourself in that white ball of light, and see if that helps you at all. Because I know it definitely helps me. I used to come out, and because you're probably empathic as well, where you're picking up people's energies and stuff like you were saying. So if you are,
Yeah.
and they said how, especially right now, how vulnerable empaths are and stuff, because people, they naturally we want to help other people, we want to make people feel better, whatever it is. And like the one image that they showed me, I've mentioned it a few times before, but it's like this black portal, and then there's just like this black being reaching out of the portal looking like, hey, help me out of here, but really they're just trying to pull you down into it. You know what I mean? So we have to be very careful of that type of stuff. And you had mentioned before too, protecting yourself during your channeling sessions, right? Because you had had some like negative activity, right? Like you were kind of
Yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah.
same as, can you talk
I
about
had,
that a little bit?
yeah, I had, once I had channeled about the Mars war thing that they were having, and they are still, I believe, they are having that.
Yeah.
And after the session, I believe, like maybe the information was not meant for to be revealed to the mass consciousness of human collective. And I literally saw like a figure, like a black figure. Okay, like I can definitely tell you that it was like really like a scary kind of figure. Okay, like it created a type of, it wanted to like scare me, I believe, like. And that kind of thing happens. And I believe what you said, about the Reiki and thing stuff like that. How it works is, I believe, when we are in our bodies, right, we are, in essence, we are the consciousness, right? So there is this ocean. So we are right now having this experience separate from where we came from. So when we enter into trance, or when we enter into deep meditation, we go to that level. Okay, like we are connected back to everything, to even your consciousness. So we are connected at that time. So this is how the energy, I believe, the Reiki energies we can transfer to someone. So this,
Yeah,
I think, is the explanation of how that happens, right?
it makes
And
sense.
yeah, in that level, we need to be very like careful. Like we can receive negative energies because we are pure consciousness at that time, right?
Right.
We are pure, and we are one at that point in the time space realm or stuff like that. What they said.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is, it works. I think we need to be careful when we go there.
Yeah, because and that's one thing that I've heard from a few different people. Like I've had people comment on my YouTube channel before and say how, there's a ton of channelers that are being misled right now and being talking to beings that they think it is, but it's really not, or they're, being misled in the wrong direction by channeling. And I think I even actually emailed you a long time ago when I first started channeling, because they were pretty worried about the whole, and then you had posted the video about that happening and stuff. So it was but yeah, I was just kind of giving you a heads up too, because they had told me, and I was like, man, I got to tell everybody that I listen to, just to make sure we're all protecting ourselves, because I know how valuable this information is to me. When I watch your videos and stuff, it's like, I mean, some of them are life changing, really. You know what I mean? Some of the information that's coming through is, I mean, it'll blow your mind. Like, so anybody who doesn't watch your channel, I'm definitely, we'll post it in the description and stuff, and they can go watch your videos, because I mean, it is, you know, the information that comes through is some next level stuff sometimes. And it's really, and what you said too is, there'd be times where I listen to it, and then it's not till the third or fourth time I listen to it that I actually get it or registers, or I'm ready to understand it. And like you said with, about not knowing your journey right now, and how it's just kind of like baby steps, and they show you what you need to know. And I don't even know that I believed in channeling, like 2 years ago. I don't even know that I like believed half of this stuff. So I definitely wasn't ready back then, so I had to like have those building blocks laid in front of me in order to get to the point where I'm at now, where I can even believe this stuff, now that it's, obviously I believed it when I was watching you and some of the other people, but when it actually happened to me, it was like, okay, now it's, even more concrete and stuff. But I am curious, um So how many times did you channel before you were kind of figuring out what was actually happening and that you weren't just going insane and whatever?
Yeah. I think, after the second time, my mother recorded the video, then I did I did not like, listen to the hypnosis. I did not do any self hypnosis, just to see, if that thing happens to me. And it did not happen. So it
Hmm.
was only happening when I was entering into a trance state. Okay. Like, I don't know how that works. Maybe there are different, like, I believe, the scientists, they say we have like waves, like alpha, beta,
Yeah.
or something like that. I believe, it
So
operates
theta
on that.
is this hypnotic state. Theta is the state that when we're doing our like deep hypnosis, alpha is like where you can communicate, where people are like mediums or just getting that psychic intuitive information. That's like the alpha state. And so this happened to me. This is actually interesting. So I had, it was either my first or second session. Towards the end, they mentioned that my heritage, whatever, is the Blue Avians. I know you've heard of them before, channeled about them. So they said that the Blue Avians were going to come with a message the next time. So I was all excited. Like they always have super cool information and stuff. So anyways, we get to the channeling session. I start going. I mentioned about the Blue Avians and the Raw Confederation. Then nothing, no information came through. And what it was Ariah is the name of the angel that I channel. It was my subconscious. So I wasn't deep enough into that state where my subconscious was still playing around in there. And it was a lesson that they were trying to show me about how, like, this is a very, careful process. You make sure you're in the right state of mind, you're protected, all these things, because we don't want any mistranslations, miscommunications. But it was interesting, like you were saying, because I wasn't fully in that theta state, but my subconscious had remembered that they said that the Blue Avians were coming, so it distorted the message. And it was a very cool message that they gave me, but interesting how it happened. So, but yeah, I'm sure it's something similar to what you were just saying. So do
Yeah.
you always, when you do it now, you're always in the hypnotic state?
Yeah, I have to do it in a trance state, otherwise, because, I'm like a very like, what do you say, like very like, I used to be a very critical person also, like I didn't used to believe
Perfectionist?
in any. Yeah.
Oh,
So, many times, I see people, like, now always we need to use discernment. So, sometimes, it's when you see channeling session, you're like, you can, I don't know, like, I just feel it, like, they're making this stuff, or,
yeah,
maybe, I don't know. Yeah. I just like,
I agree with
like,
you. Well, because I used to watch a lot, especially when I first found you. I started looking for all the channelers that I could find on YouTube, and I whittled it down to you and one other girl out of all of those that I trusted and was thinking that was getting legit information and not being distorted. And even the girl sometimes. But the one thing that I can say for both of you guys, and her name's Elizabeth April, she has a channel. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's on the same type of mission. But the one thing that you guys stand out with is you always state to use your discernment to, and I feel like that's one of the signs of people who know and understand this process, and who understand, like, and even the angels that, like this whole book, and then at the end they say, don't take any of this,
right.
take it with a grain of salt. Like, everything's changing all the time. Like, don't believe anything, don't put too much into anything, just don't come to any concrete conclusions, basically. And so it's like, I guess having that understanding, and I get that feeling from you guys. And I will say for you, once you started posting the video, it was definitely, I think that helped a lot of people too, seeing the process and seeing you actually channeling the information. And because that was one thing that kind of threw me with some of the other channelers too, was it was just the audio. And I'm like, well, how do I know they're not just reading like a script that they wrote? Or, how do we know it's like kind of authentic?
Yeah. Same thing I thought,
Yeah,
whenever I see, yeah, there are many, I'm not say the name because it's very bad to say names,
yeah,
but, you see that just the audio, right? Like, like,
yeah,
where's this, right? So yeah, that also threw me.
yeah. And so that's where, like, my channel, my videos, I don't actually channel while I'm doing the videos. I take the messages from my channeling sessions and just kind of, retell them as best I can. But that's why I would like to kind of move towards filming the actual sessions like you do, and letting people see exactly how it goes down. And because one thing too is, like your voice totally changes a lot of times too. Like it's a different, you know, like a deeper, because I sent your videos to a couple friends of mine at one time, and they were like, that's weird, why is his voice like that? And I, you know, I explained to him like how the process is and stuff, because people who don't have any idea of this stuff, they don't know, you know what I mean? So it was very weird to them, but once I explained it to him, he was like, oh, that actually makes sense. And then how it's, you know, literally, you know, I mean, so I want to ask you this, because I kind of go back and forth on how the actual channeling process works, because part of me feels like it's like there's the two entities and then we're kind of meeting in the middle, and then sometimes it almost feels like the entities like literally coming through me in a way. So how do you um feel like that is, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, the net just got your question. Can you please repeat the
Oh,
internet?
was it? Yeah. So I was saying when I'm channeling, I kind of interpret it two different ways, and I'm not exactly sure how it's happening. But so if there's me and this other being I'm communicating with, are we like connecting somewhere up here? Or because sometimes it feels like they're literally kind of just coming right through me. But I know that there is sort of that, there's the translation that's happening also. So it's, can you explain your thoughts on how that works?
Yeah, I believe what happens is during my sessions, like the same thing, like what happens when you get into like deep, like sleep, like you're in a different like place, okay, like in a different world, and in that place there is no time, there is no space, everything is happening like in the moment, right? So
Yeah.
I believe in that moment, they can, like anyone whose move matches my vibration, or if I have the the proper intention with the vibration, then they will come and give the message, or I believe this is what is happening. Okay, when we are channeling, the information is already out there. The information is already out there. Whatever we need is already out there. Okay, in that level, when we go to that level, whenever we are in dream state, we sometimes experience, they said, our other parallel lives as well. So we are not just having this one reality. We have like many other lives happening at the same time. It may be hard for us to believe, because of our senses. We are limited by our senses. But when we go to that level, and we become like pure consciousness, right? We are not this body. I'm not Sam, you're not Joe. When you go to that level, you are this energy, right?
Hmm.
That's the signature. How do they identify you is based upon your energy. This is like they don't like these beings, they don't like at that level, they don't have names and stuff. Okay, they are telepathic. They, what they do is they scan the vibrations of
Yeah.
entities. Yeah. So I believe what they're doing is the information is already out there, right? So I'm just like when I'm like tuning to that vibration. So I just need to suppose I have a query, and it has a certain vibration, so I go to that level, and then I get that. I believe it's a download. Okay,
Yeah.
so everything is already out there in that level. There is no time, right? So everything
Yeah.
is already existing in that level. So I believe this could be one way of explaining it,
That's
in a way.
interesting. Because it's interesting because the way, and I don't know how it was for you, but like especially the first couple sessions I did, the communication was, my breathing was real heavy. The words were some not the it was like the right idea but the wrong word maybe, and stuff like that. And then as the, you know, as I've done a few more of them, it's become much, you know, smoother, and the communications become much less bad translations, I guess would be the word, the best way to put it. Is that something you experienced as well, or?
Yeah, that happens many times. Like suppose they want to communicate one thing, like it somehow comes a little bit different.
Yeah.
That happened sometimes, um like, yeah, it is true. It may
'Cause I
happen
feel like
because
sometimes what happens is like I'll get an image in my head of like the thought or whatever it is, and then when I'm trying to say that, sometimes like it's similar words but they end up colliding into each other and just making their own word, or like you start saying one word and finish with the other word or something like that. And I've noticed that a few times, or where they've said like I forget, they were talking about like captive and captor and they said the wrong one, you know, it should have been the other one or something like that, just something simple. But it's like I feel like that's my fault, you know, or them. That's where I get confused because, and the other part that, and this is an interesting question for you too, because as we were going through with doing the book and the sessions and stuff with Archangel Ariah, it came about that there were certain things that they didn't know the answer to. And us with our human brains are just automatically assuming that, higher dimensional beings know everything. So have you had a similar experience where it's like I mean, why do we assume that they know everything? First of all, I know that there is this like you said, that consciousness that we can all tap into where basically everything is, available to us, but they also akened it to like Einstein back in the day said, why do I need to remember everything when I have it all on my books on my shelf? And they kind of said the same thing. Have you had anything similar like that where?
Yeah, there are two things, that may happen. Like sometimes, the information may be infringement on
Mm,
our free, or maybe it will, influence us. So they don't give that type of information. And the other thing that happens is sometimes, when you're asking queries, if they are like, very deep. Okay, now this is, I believe, we don't. There are not many queries, that are like really deep, that require this high level of consciousness to answer,
yeah.
but there may be some questions which may be like really deep, so the beings, they are also like us. Okay, they're experiencing density or a dimension. They are at a certain dimension, and based upon the dimension, they have different level of available information they can share with us, right?
Right.
So yeah, if you ask a high level question which is, even beyond them, they will not be able to answer you. So
Well, that's
yeah.
what I thought was interesting because, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong or if you channeled something different, in our universe, multiverse, whatever you want to call it, there's 13 dimensions, the 13th being the creator's level. And so they said that they're from the 12th dimension. So my human brain, well, they should know everything, right? And it's like, and then, they kind of explain too how even, like the different archangels and how they all have their own different roles and specialties and things like that. And so they remember things. And they even said, they were like, we remember things that are important to us, things that we want to know. But, the name of somebody who was in your past life, like, why do we care about that? Or something like that. So it was just interesting. Like, I don't want to say that there's a humanness to, but almost in a way, a relatability to where it's like they don't just have all of this information, on tap all the time. They can probably find most of it if they really wanted to, is what it seems like. But it's also like, why, if it's not relevant or interesting to them, why would they retain it? And it was just kind of an interesting for myself to just kind of like, oh, why did I assume that you guys knew everything just because you're in a different dimension or what, so it was kind of cool. That's interesting that you've had that same. Um, what would you say? This is kind of a leading, very broad, but is there anything that stood out to you out of all the channelings, or think like some piece of information or something that you're just like, oh my god, that just totally blew my mind. Like I couldn't even believe that. Or is there anything that stands out to you like that?
Yeah, I believe, this was the very last session I had done, which I also shared with the community I have on YouTube. About the background people, right? Like that stuff was like, I was like, scratching my head, like, what is this? Like, this stuff was like really, and it may open eyes of some people, and I definitely felt like, I was, back in the day, I was like that, like I was unconscious, right? So this session, out of all the sessions, I don't know what is going to come in the future sessions, okay, but this session was really had a deep impact on myself, and how I was, like regulating my own life. Many a times, after hearing the session, I recognized that I had been unconscious, during not only my sleep state, but in sleep state, of course, you will be unconscious, right? But during my waking state, I sometimes I went unconscious, and I remember, some of the thoughts, I received, like they were like really weird thoughts, and then I literally believed them and went into a loop, like you said, it ruined your day just
Mm-hmm.
because you believe in that word or image. So this session was one that really had a like deep impact on me, like from listening to the session, till like till today. Okay, it has been like 2 or 3 days. I have been constantly trying to keep track of the words and the images that are coming in my brain,
Yeah.
and just to recognize, like I don't want to go I don't want to go deep in that, okay? Because if you let this thought like take you, it will take you down to a different spiral, okay? You will be in a whole new spiral, and you'll be talking and fighting with yourself and all that stuff. It's weird. It takes your energy, and I feel I feel much lighter, and my head migraines also, they're gone away.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
this is weird. In the daytime, I back in the day, I used to feel certain aches in my eyes. I believe this was because of the thoughts, because
Hmm,
of the words, I believe, and I was going into spiral, and there used to be like certain, like, kind of like pain in this area, but now no pain.
that's
Since
interesting.
I'm observing,
I
it's
said, yeah,
gone.
that's so cool that you recognize that too, and they were able to kind of like fix it. Is because I feel like that awareness with a lot of people is the biggest issues. Is they, and like you said before, with the first time you channeled, and then you go to the doctor, you're lucky that you made it out of there without like prescriptions and other things that totally suppress your abilities, because I feel like that's what happens to so many people is, and this is one of the things I've channeled too, their abilities start to show themselves, and then they go talk to a friend or their mom or their dad, and they're like, oh, you're crazy, you need to go see a doctor. And then they go to a doctor and get prescribed antipsychotic medication, and now all of their abilities, now they have mental illness and all their abilities are suppressed, and then it just turns into this whole whirlwind of mess. And how those traumas and those different things, they can manifest in physical pain. It's not always like that you hit your head, that's why you got a headache. Sometimes it's these thoughts or these other things, these energies that are trying to get out, that you're suppressing, that it's causing this stuff. So very interesting that you mentioned that. But yeah, did they try to put you on any medication when you went to the doctor the first time?
The doctor had given me medication, okay, but I since I was young, I didn't like to go to the doctors and stuff. Even once, I remember back in the day, even though I was unconscious, right? I was living unconsciously back in the day, like other people, like normal people,
Yeah.
right? Without consciousness, like being taken away by every thought and every image and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I once had my ears blocked, okay, like I couldn't hear from my ear. So what I did was I like literally, like I cured that thing on my own by searching for some natural healing method on YouTube. And it was just a simple video I followed for like a week, and it's fine. It was fine. It's still fine. It's been 2 years. And look, okay, if I had gone to the doctor, the doctor may, I don't know, out of like greed or stuff like that, they may have said, you will require this procedure, or you may need to be operated and stuff like that. And since that day, I have recognized that, look, okay, they are also unconscious. They are trying to do it for their own thing. So I don't like like completely like blindly follow whatever they are saying. Just because they are like wearing this white collar and they have this stethoscope around, doesn't mean that they are like way smarter than you or me.
Right.
They may be unconscious, they may be they may be playing the programming that they have of their life. They may be in that egoic self, like trying
Yeah,
to do something, what I mean. And yeah, it's very dangerous
it
right
is.
now.
And I think that one thing that people need to keep in mind with the medical industry, scientists, all of these different industries that are so like, they're just telling you to trust all the time now. There are all of these doctors and nurses and all of these people. I truly believe 99% of them go into it with the best of intentions, that they want to heal people, they want to do right, all of these things. But what people fail to realize, who is teaching the medical information? The pharmaceutical companies teach the medical information. Like, what was one of the most eye-opening things to me was when I went to the doctor when I got out of the military, and I was telling them I had some symptom. I don't even remember what it was, but all they did was they went and grabbed this little black book. Oh, you have this symptom? Okay, you need this pill and this pill and this pill. And I'm like, this is what medicine is? I can do that. Like, I can look up my symptoms and tell what pill goes with it. Like, that's not medicine. Like, what is, and then, so that was part of my like eye opening to that whole world. And then when you
Yeah.
really start digging into it, it's kind of disgusting how far it goes. But and it's the same thing with the Bible. There's so much truth in it because there is life-saving procedures and all these things that have extended life in a lot of ways. And then you have the other side of it where it's this back door to pharmaceuticals and creating patients and all these other things. So it's people need to, like you just said earlier, taking that zoomed out look. and just observing things for what they are. Stop being caught up in what you were conditioned to believe or anything. Just step back and just observe things the way that they are, and just with no, attachment to them, and see what they look like for real now, because we've been lied to. And that's the simple truth, is we've been manipulated and we've been lied to and told, our human body is what does all of the healing. And us
Yeah,
taking a pill that we think makes us better is all it's doing, is telling our brain to make us better. you know so,
very
and
true.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but
they
yeah,
did,
I
they
thought
did.
it was so interesting. The other thing I keep on, I've wanted to mention it like 4 times since we've been talking, but you keep pointing to your throat when you talk about that voice in your head. And you made a video about that. And ever since you talked about that, I was like, oh man, I never noticed that before. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let's pay attention to that voice in your head. It's not up here, it's right here.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's opened my eyes. Since that day,
Yeah.
I have been noticing like all the voice. It's not here. Wow,
Yeah.
from here. I think it's conditioning, right?
Right.
It's used to talking.
Yeah. But I thought it was you kept pointing to your voice when you're talking about that, or you're pointing to your throat. And I was like, I wonder if people picked up on that. Cause I know I watched that video before where you had mentioned, we hear the voice, but it's really, right back here next. And I was like, oh, I started paying attention to that. And I was like, that is true. That's interesting.
I did that myself. I noticed it, and scary, right? Like, sometimes, we believe in, like you said, the thing about medicine. Wow, I did not know that. Okay, like the pharmaceutical industries, I mean, they do it for profit. They just want money, right?
Right.
So it's scary, like, even nowadays, because I believe a lot of it is being exposed, even on the mainstream media. They
Hmm.
are right now are exposing a lot of this profiteering stuff. They're trying to do. It's really scary, like, and
It is.
many people, they have like, lost their true ability, to heal.
Yeah.
Like you said, even if you take some, like medicine, it's all upon your body, right? It will heal. Yeah, like you said, on its own. It's the belief, like
Yeah.
there is this placebo effect or something like that, that
Yeah.
scientists call. There was an experiment done, right, regarding this. I believe most people know about that. So yeah, it's really, I
Yeah.
think people pick up, like in the future.
How
And I
far
think,
do you
that,
think we are in this
yeah,
waking up process?
yeah, in the waking up, I believe, like, firstly, we need to convince people, right? Now, people who are those who are unconscious, or those who are, being, manipulated by their own like thoughts, or maybe by someone else's thoughts or stuff like that. Firstly, we need to be able to convince them,
Yeah.
because if we are not able to convince them that what we are saying is real, then how will they believe us, right?
Right.
So yeah, firstly, that will be a very tough thing to do, because we are doing something which is like channeling, right? This is like, you know some people, may not believe it completely, like may dismiss it just by hearing the word, you know so I think, it's still, like we have a long way to go, for the whole collective to awaken. And I don't know, I'm just trying to do the best, I can to, help other people. And I believe, it only happens when you're ready. Okay, like you find
Yeah.
the type of now this is very fascinating. Okay, like if I look at my friends, like maybe the video watching history or stuff like that, they'll be watching like something like completely different from what I watch, right? My
Hmm.
what my mind, vibrates to. So, I believe, I think, when you are searching for spiritual content, you are ready to
Yeah.
receive something, you prepared, your soul needs it, right? And that's the reason why, I think only people who are ready will, get the message. So
So,
that's,
so I go, you know, my wife and I have talked about this a few times, and we don't really know either. And even the channeling has been sort of unclear, but this split, the 3D to the 5D, and some people interpret it as there's going to be mass death, and then the reincarnation of the negative, or whoever didn't ascend essentially will reincarnate on the 3D earth, and the rest will incarnate on the 5D earth. Or do you think it's going to be more of just kind of a vibrational phasing out, where right now we're, just for argument's sake, we're in the fifth dimension talking, so we're able to communicate with each other, see each other. do you think eventually going to be to the point where if the, like, do you think people have to die to reincarnate in the 3D earth, or do you think there's just going to be a separation at some point where it's just we kind of tune out from one another and those people are still there, but we don't interpret them and they don't interpret us? Like, how do you interpret that? Or am I
Yeah,
totally
I
off?
yeah, I think I think it's going to, from my understanding, okay, it's going to be like a slow process, and I think it's happening right now, okay,
Yeah.
like a slow process, like we can even sense it, okay. There is this like different collective consciousness who have
Mhm.
actually who are aware, who are, like you said, acting as an observer and who are aware of what's going on. So there is a small collective, right? The other, like there's a huge portion, they are still unawakening, unawakened. And I believe in the beginning it's going to be a vibrational shifting. So once once the vibrations, they I think they shift like to a certain degree, there will also be a physical separation. I believe that. Now I don't
They,
know.
yeah, they kind of said something about, like, they used the hot tub analogy that, it's when the hot tub's at 60 degrees, everybody can sit in there, but as you turn the heat up, and that's the vibration raising. But I didn't know if that is like a literal. So do you, okay, I guess here's what the real question is. If you take the 8 billion people, give or take, that are on the earth right now, from what I've channeled, it's around like 8 to 10% are negative, and about 15% that are awake doing what we're doing. Does that make sense to you, or does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think from what I have understood is that like our human like collective consciousness is actually ready for the next leap. Okay, like ready to graduate into the fourth density. Otherwise, like Earth would not have been transitioning into the fourth density positive or the fifth density positive, right? Because our mass consciousness is ready. And the thing is, people, they just need to like break through
Mm,
that barrier. And it is this is the window, right? Like the window to the next like room or the next density is open. So it just requires the people to awaken a little bit more, so they can experience that vibration and enter through that window. So
mm,
yeah, to actually like tell the numbers, I don't think like like it's going to be a huge number, because like many people are still like asleep. But collectively, I think, like you said, like some people, they are waking up more and more, and some people who are interested in this, when the right time comes, their soul, okay, like I believe this is to do with the soul. The soul, like doesn't at one point, it doesn't resonate with any other information. Like right now, where I'm at, I don't know about you, but I don't listen to like any other information, like and news and stuff. I don't watch any of that. I only
mm.
watch like channel sessions, like spiritual
Yeah, same.
content and stuff, because my vibration loves that, right?
Yeah,
I don't resonate with the other stuff that people are indulged in. So that's what I believe, that's how the change will happen. It will happen slowly, but based on the people's vibration. Some people, they will, of course, they will just be unawakened, and they will maybe incarnate in some other planet, in the repeating the same lessons again, until
right.
they realize that they were like
Yeah.
unconscious.
And so that's what I wonder too, is because I remember, I believe you said before that if you're 51% positive, that's all it takes, right, to make it. Is so is I have channeled that 2025 is like kind of the cutoff date. Have you heard anything like that?
Yeah, I need to channel about this, like when will the graduation window end and stuff like that. I need to actually channel about this to get an exact
Yeah,
like frame.
yeah.
But they also said, like it could happen tomorrow. Like
It's
if
all
all of
based on
us,
it. They keep telling me all the time is all this goes as fast as people like you and I are able to
right?
wake people up. The faster we're able to do it, the faster this whole thing goes, which that's why I know that us connecting today and being able to do this is, definitely part of this whole mission, and us like helping to, wake up as many people as possible. Because one thing that they explained to me too is, it's awesome when, you can make a video and I can make a video and we wake up somebody who's asleep, but when we can make a video or talk to somebody who's like us, who can be a force multiplier and go out, now they're making videos and waking people up and doing the same thing that we're doing, you know, activating the light worker, as they say, or whatever, like that's really powerful. And I mean, I don't know how many you've done it for, but I know you've done it for me, and at least me and maybe my wife, you know, like we've been watching your channel for a long time. So, and I'm sure there's plenty of other people out there watching that you've done the same thing for, where, you know, and I hope I'm doing the same thing too, or at least it's sparking your curiosity and making you go do some of your own research or go think about things in a different way or something like that. And, you know, I'm very thankful that there's other people, and, you know, that, because I know there's a lot of people that are getting these messages that aren't ready to hear them yet, or they're not listening, or they're not accepting them. And I was kind of, you know, I never wanted to be in front of a camera. I never wanted to do half this stuff. I would much rather be on my own as a recluse, you know, doing my own thing, playing my music or whatever. But it's kind of shoved me out into the public spotlight to some degree anyway. Um, but I just think it's so cool that we've all kind of accepted this mission and really, you know, jumped in with both feet and really are trying to help change. I mean, there's no other way to say it. We're really trying to help change the world. You know, this is a huge, I mean, even bigger than that, it's the universe, because I mean, the earth is a school, and how important it is to the rest of the universe in so many different ways too. I mean, this is a huge, huge thing that we're going through.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. Like if someone watches your channel, or maybe some other channel or my channel, and then they get the idea and then they share it with someone, like wow, right? So yeah, that's actually like multiplying, and it's very this is one of the most important things I believe, because otherwise it will take a long time, but
Yeah.
by sharing it, you know by sharing it, that will help someone whose vibration requires a little bit of push, like you said, to go to the next level. And I believe one of the things, the stuff like UFOs and aliens, they have been like very huge in helping people to ascend. I
Yeah.
believe that.
I
Yeah,
do
because
too.
that's the unknown, right?
Yeah.
We don't know what's that, right? So most people, they're like curious to know what's that, and when they enter that reality, they will find all of this.
Yeah.
They'll find all of, yeah. So I believe that's one thing that's pushing the
So
awakening
was
of.
that you? Were you said your moment of awakening was when you had your first channeling session that you didn't know what was going on, or were you kind of like leaning in that direction at all before with UFOs or anything, or you were totally asleep?
I was asleep at before that. I had no interest in any of that. I
Interesting.
used to do my magic, practice magic, and show magic to people, magic tricks to people. I never thought that I would be doing this. Like it's weird, and it's totally like you said, 1 year ago you would not believe in channeling. The same thing with me.
Yeah.
I did not even know the names of these beings. Like they actually, what I found out was that, and there were many other people who actually had channeled these beings. Like wow, right? Like I was like, wow, this is something else. And since that day I have been hooked till today. And the thing about spirituality is uh, it's very different, you cannot let it go. Okay, like it's, I don't know, it's other things you can let go. Okay, like
Yeah.
you may be
It's
learn,
not just like a hobby you dabble in for a minute.
you just go full in, like
Yeah.
once you one bit, you're like addicted, like you just want to find out and the entirety, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff is really different.
So how far I know, because you said what was it was like October 2020 when you had your awakening, right around then. Yeah. Um and then was it kind of like once you heard the channeling session that you were pretty open to everything else, or were you still a little skeptical about things and you kind of had to, or was it like a you just turned a switch on and everything kind of was open to you?
Yeah, since that day, I was open to a whole new reality. Okay, like like when you like find something that is actually real, right? Before that, I would have said that this stuff is like fake. This stuff is like not real. But since it happened to me, right now, now I am forced to believe in it 100% because I know it's real. And
Yeah.
you know and finally, after doing a lot of sessions, I also found out that many people what happens is that, when they listen to channeling session, their soul, okay, like this internal being, not the mind, okay, not the mind, but there is something, the consciousness or the creative aspect within you, right? It recognizes, uh, I don't know, it recognizes there is this, like, you feel, wow, right? You feel like as if you knew about that
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yes. I know exactly what you're saying.
Within, like, I
Yeah.
know this is true. Somehow, no one has to tell you that this is true, but this is true
Yeah.
from within. Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened to me
Well, that's what
since
happened when I
the.
watched your channel, is you were just saying so many things that I'm just like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense than any other thing I've ever heard. It just, everything started clicking for me. And the way you explain certain things from the Bible and different, I was like, oh my God, this just finally, like, it just was like, oh, I get it. I get it. So yeah, it's so interesting that you had the same experience.
That happens, I believe, with other, people also who are watching maybe your channeling or maybe mine. you know they just recognize this truth. No
Yeah.
one has to tell. No scientist has to tell you that this is true, but you know it,
Right.
because you can know it from within. Like, it's like different, okay, like this is something different. That's why, I feel that spirituality is, it's for the soul. It's something else, like not for our, conscious mind and stuff like that, but for our, inner true nature. We have
Yeah.
forgotten when we come through the veil of forgetting that they say.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, I believe, sometimes we are penetrating through the veil, like with some of the information, we are like getting that information back, right? Like, wow.
I
Feels
totally
good.
agree with that. And I've channeled that the veil is sort of thinning at this point, also, and we're kind of, that's why a lot more people are starting to wake up and have these gifts that, maybe they didn't understand before. But one thing I was going to ask you is, do you have anybody, is there anybody else that is around you, or your friends or family, or anybody else that is awake like you are, or are you kind of feeling isolated at this point? Because I think
I
we
am.
all go through that isolation at some point where it's like, are we the only person in the world going through this? Or how's that for you?
Yeah. In the beginning, till today, okay, like, I am single, like, from this whole, like, place. Some of the people, I find, on my YouTube channel, like, some of them who comment, maybe some of them, and there is not a single person from my area, okay, like, this is one of the weirdest thing. Not from my state. I mean, I live in a state known as Sikkim, right?
Mhm.
Even from entire state, there isn't one person who is as interested as I am. So
Yeah.
there is no one. So
Huh.
in India, there are many, of course, because, from my, sessions, I see them comment, from outside my state.
Yeah.
And, feel like, I don't have anyone to talk this with,
Really.
except for maybe people like you,
Yeah.
or maybe, my, YouTube, friends. That's it. The only place I can, share this information is YouTube. Like, this is the
Yeah.
why, we are, type of soul family, okay, like, we have
Yeah.
this, connection, internally, even though, we may be in a body, we have different families in this incarnation, but, there is this internal, soul family to share this type of information. I have YouTube people like you. Otherwise, I would be totally isolated, like, no
Yeah.
idea what should I do, like, would be confused. But now I have, many people, like you, and, there are many others, who have, who I can, talk about this, and it's really interesting. Like, this is weird. Also, one of the weirdest thing, like, just imagine, out of, like, we have around, 9 million people, living in this place. There is only, like, one, and there are maybe one or, someone may have little interest, right? So this is like the weirdest thing. Like, so many people are still like,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they're not ready. No idea. So I don't like force it on them. Like, once I
Yeah.
tried to share it with my, friends. So, they just laughed it off. Like, so since that day, I don't share it with, my friends or anyone. I just share it on my YouTube, and whoever likes it, like, they
Yeah.
watch it. That's, yeah.
I
So
wouldn't
what about?
even, I just started sharing stuff on my own personal Facebook like a week or two ago, because I'm like, I was so hesitant to, because of the same thing you said, like, it's one thing to share it with strangers who are going to find it, that are interested in this stuff, but it's another thing where it's like you're sharing it with people, that have no idea what this stuff is, have no, so yeah, that's a little bit of that scariness, of getting over. And but yeah, that's why I was curious, because my wife and I were kind of going through this whole deal, especially with the lockdown last year, is when a lot of it really started accelerating. I would say I probably started waking up back in like 2012, 2013-ish. But super accelerated over the past year, with the whole lockdown and stuff. But there was a long time there where it was like, is this stuff really happening, or are we just going crazy in our own little world here? Or like, because we're watching your videos and like it was her and I and you, it seems like we're the only people in the world knowing what's going on. And so it was like kind of scary for a while.
Yeah, sometimes it may feel a bit lonely, but I believe this pathway is the best,
Yeah.
because there are not many people who will graduate, like they said, because they are not ready. They have to maybe learn certain lessons, and I believe those who are in our communities, who are watching this and who love this,
Yeah.
who actually crave information like this, who actually love to find new information.
Right.
Wow, right? So
Yeah.
this is a different level, I believe.
So awesome. And I think you know, like you said, with people not being ready yet, and then to hear, just, one thing that you said, or, one thing that I think is very interesting too, is like when I started channeling some of the same stuff that you had said, it was like that validation, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we're getting the same, you know what I mean? We're on the right path. And then when you go and talk to other people who are channeling and you start talking and you're like, oh, I was getting the same information. And so it's like, that's when you really start realizing that you're not so crazy, is when people who are totally unrelated, you and I are across the world from each other and we're getting the same information. Like, how does that happen? You know what I mean? Like, that's so cool. And so it gives you that like sense of community as well, because it's like, man, you and I are going through the same things on totally opposite sides of the world. We're getting the same information from some beings, that are trying to wake us up and go through this process. And so, yeah, it's very cool that, all of the, and the people that I've met lately and stuff, it's just been, I'm blown away with how many people are a part of this process that live really close to where I'm at. Like I've met like 5 people so far that like channeling and all of it. So it's been very interesting with, yeah. And you should have seen my wife. I was so excited to talk to you today, because I was just like, man, this is so cool. One of the guys that like got me into this whole, deal I'm talking to today, and being able to, share this with, whoever my little following is. But, I'm very grateful for everybody who's a part of it. But, it's just so cool to be able to get that little extra validation, talk to the people who are doing the same thing, and we're, bouncing ideas. And there's one thing that they mentioned to me, when I was doing the channeling sessions, and maybe this is something you could ask about too, if you don't know already, but they were showing me this image. So the lady and I, she's obviously another awakened one. But they showed me this image of, if you're familiar with the United States at all, there's like the Northeast part, but they were showing me like the tri-state area, this giant white ball of light that's basically going up and touching the ley lines, just from what her and I were doing in these channeling sessions. So when
Wow.
you and I do this, you can only imagine, right? Now imagine if there's 4 or
Right.
5 more people like that. You know what I mean? What we're doing to feed that energy to the, so it's just like that huge, it's just like I'm tingling all over right now thinking about it. But it's just so cool, the impact that just this conversation might have on how many different people are, and get them on the same path as us. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's true. The energy, like whenever we share spiritual messages, I believe the energy is a bit different. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you literally like it, okay, like in your vibration as well. And I believe, it makes a huge impact on people. The same thing with meditation. Like if you have a group of people who meditate together, wow, right? That's like huge impactful. That will be, it will like literally change the energy of the city, or maybe wherever you are meditating. Like wow,
Well, and
everyone
I'm
will be
so
calm.
glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about that, and thank you for that, because your group meditations, I mean, literally, you may have changed the timelines. Like, I don't know how it works, but it seems like you guys literally, doing these meditations and stuff. Like, can you talk a little bit about your group meditations that you've led and stuff?
Yeah, the thing is that the meditation that they gave, the type of meditation to do was really impactful. Like in a way, it actually, what it did was like, we were energetically matching our vibration to the timeline, so where we want to go. So based on that, okay, that principle of vibration, the similar vibration goes to the same place. So we have a lot of people, right, vibrating at the same place, and then we will we I think we just had a huge push, okay, like towards that direction of the new earth. And just imagine, like more people, they do
Right.
that,
Yeah.
and I could feel the change in my own self, even after the meditation, right?
Yeah.
Felt like really, since I was like, literally doing it, and then I was showing it to other people also. I literally felt this like huge, like energy of light. I felt really good, from, and I believe, many other people
Oh, for sure. And it's
change.
so powerful that you were able to get that many people to, I mean, just I think that's one thing that's becoming so apparent is how much our focused intention and then focus, the more people doing that same focused intention, how much power we really have. And I think that's so cool. I just wanted to clear up real quick because some people probably don't know what we're talking about. So correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I understand, essentially the negatives have been messing with the CERN Hadron Collider, and they've been trying to change our timelines to get us into a timeline where Trump didn't win the presidency, correct? And then with the
Yeah,
group meditation, we were trying to basically hijack what they were doing and shift us into an even better timeline. Am I explaining that correctly?
yeah. I don't know about the that thing you said, the Trump thing, because what I received during channeling was what they said. I don't know. It may be related with him because they didn't say the name of Donald Trump. The president, right, of United States. They didn't say the name of his name. But what they said was, in a similar manner, they said that, they were trying to do the hijack the timeline. So what you said was correct, but they didn't mention the name of Mr. Trump. Okay, so yeah, that's the only difference. And I believe whatever you said is true. Like what I received during channeling was that, the negative entities, they were trying to come into the South Pole, wherein they were trying to, like, create this collective consciousness, and they were trying to, like, collectively, enter into this time space reality by, I believe, doing the same thing we were doing, trying to counteract that, right? So
Yeah.
they wanted to, like, change the vibration of the planets.
Right.
And yeah, so I believe we were successful
Yeah.
in that regard. So yeah, I believe, that was really helpful.
Yeah, oh, I totally agree. And so what I had heard with the Trump thing, the reason why he was involved is they were trying to find a timeline where he was never president because of how many people awakened during his presidency because of the things that he said or tweeted or whatever else, regardless if they were for him or against him or whatever it is, just there was a huge awakening that happened throughout his presidency that they were trying to essentially backtrack that whole deal. So obviously thanks to you and a lot of other people, they were unsuccessful, which is awesome. So thank
Wow,
you for
yeah,
doing that. But yeah, that's what I had heard. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure, and that's, but it's interesting just the fact that we even got the same information to that degree. So it gives me a little, validation about what's going on. So that's very cool.
it may have been come through in a different language, but the information was same, right? Like, wow, this
Yeah,
stuff is like, yeah,
it's so cool. And it's so cool to talk to somebody else who channels too, because it's like you're, us being able to relate how things happen or how the messages come through or how you're, in when you're in that state and stuff. But what I'm really curious about, and I don't know if you are, is taking it to that next level of like, how Daryl Anka does it, where he can just take a deep breath and he's there and he's channeling. Like, I would love to get to that point and be able to connect with whoever. Like, do you think, is that something that you're working towards?
yeah, that, maybe a bit, I don't know, that's like next level, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, maybe, I don't know, let's see, what happens, if they, like, give me the push.
Yeah.
But
Like, so
yeah,
when you
yeah, I mean,
channel, do you have a like a script, or do you just like kind of, is it you have a couple ideas that you want to ask before you go in, or do you kind of communicate mentally throughout and kind of guide the conversation? How does that go?
No, I just like you enter into trance with like 2 or 3 questions maximum. Okay, like because I cannot like normally people cannot hold many questions. Like I just like have 2 or 3 questions in my mind. That's
Yeah, I
it.
know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, because it's all clear.
That's
Yeah.
it. And I enter, and they will like scan my thought form, or I don't know how they do it. Like they scan it and they find out if I have any queries
Mm,
with that intent. you know uh, I must have the intent of contacting them, and they just like scan that portion. If they can answer it, they will answer. That's how it works. I have noticed that.
interesting. Yeah, one thing that drives me nuts, because I finally got to be on the other side and ask the questions, like I said, with that lady that I met, and I got to talk to some of these interdimensional beings and kind of interview, which was super fun to do. Um, and the one that we talked to, I can't remember their name, but they were from the ninth dimension. And me, my human brain, of course, I'm like, oh, well, tell me about this dimension, tell me about this planet, tell me about your names, tell me about this. And they're like, none of that matters. I was just like, okay, like, we're so caught up in that separation of illusion of separation and everything. But so I was curious if you've ever had stuff like that happen where you're curious about something, they're just like, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, the same thing what you're saying. I actually there was a lot of people who wanted me to. They had emailed me. Okay, like a lot of them had emailed me. They wanted to find out if Galactic Federation of Light and the Galactic Federation of World is same thing or not. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know, like maybe some YouTubers were trying to create separation, like saying this is bad, and they're trying to judge and stuff like that. And I think that's not the uh, you know not the right way to you know I believe people can use their own judgment, right? Like they can use their own discernment. And I feel that's the same thing they said in the session. Since we are at this like level where we are separated, where we like identify with every word, like we identify heavily with our name. And if someone says bad things to our name, like, oh, we got to protect our name, like
right,
because that's egoic self, like shielding the like attachments it has. Once we rise above, there is no need for any attachment, because we are the observer, we are the creator, right? We are just here to observe. And in the higher levels, they don't even have language.
right.
So so what is the fuss about? Light, galactic friends of light and worlds, and like they're trying to create this like huge division in the minds of people. I believe that's what they're trying to do. Okay, now I don't
Well,
know why.
well, I think this is part of it, and I try to explain this to people too, that so let's the jab and and the pandemic, whether you're afraid of the pandemic or the jab, it's still fear, right? So either way, they're winning that battle. And that's where I think people get caught up in is if they make you think that the Galactic Federation of Light and the Galactic Federation of World or whatever you said are two different things, then they're creating that, you know what I mean? So I think that it's all those seed plant, like they mentioned to me when you see those pharmaceutical commercials everywhere, right? And they say, oh, well, it takes care of this, all these different symptoms. If you have this, maybe you need this drug. Well, what that really did in that commercial was plant in your subconscious that, well, I hear voices. Now I need this antipsychotic drug. And now you created this illness that needs this drug subconsciously. And so I think that they do the same thing with like that, where they can plant this seed in our subconscious that, oh no, that one's bad and that one's good. And now we're sitting here, oh no, we can't listen to what that message is because they're from that, or you know what I mean? It's that like subconscious seed planting that they're doing to us. And it's very interesting how our subconscious can kind of run with that.
Yeah, true, very true. That's, I believe that's what they're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are to create separation in the community of spiritual people. Like, wow, this stuff
Yeah.
is like next level.
Well, and that's the
It's
thing
really,
too, is I think a lot of people and discernment, like you say in your videos, is so important because a lot of times when people find religion or spirituality, it's because they're going through some stuff, right? You're kind of searching for answers somewhere. So if somebody's filling that void, I think the negative have a perfect opportunity to fill that void with wrong information because people are searching, and they're not using their discernment, just kind of like how you said with same thing I came to with some of those channelers where, I was hearing your messages and I was hearing their messages. Yours were really resonating with me. And then they would say something similar, but then throw in something that sounded really fear inducing. And I was like, this isn't, resonating right with me. I'm hearing the same similar thing, but then they distort it. And so it was like, I think it's very easy for them to control people who aren't discerning and who don't have that. You have to be a skeptic, I feel like, to do this, because you have to understand that there's so much other stuff out there that can be interfering. And so I think that's interesting
Right,
that
right.
we both kind of came to that same conclusion about that.
Yeah, discernment, in every single session I have done, before they begin, they say the line. So just so imagine why they say that, like it's
Yeah.
very important, obviously.
Well, and I think that, I mean, obviously they understand what can happen in these sessions and what has happened, and I'm sure, and that's what I'm curious too, how that works, because um like they had talked about with like the Bible channeling, a lot of the Bible was channeled and how that was distorted through the messages being, and there's, things that they obviously learned through time. Like we said, with you drinking the water and the blessing and having this, I think you put like the Bible or some kind of book above your head, or there's a process to it, right? And it's not just, you sitting there and interpreting whatever comes through. It's, and I think some people do that and some people can be hijacked or misled but I am curious how it works on that level. If like would they literally say I'm some other being, coming through, and like it's a negative entity saying that they're a higher level being, or do you have any insight on that, how that works at all? Or
Yeah, I think how they can hijack is if you as a channeler, you don't, firstly, like you don't protect yourself, and the other thing is, if your vibration is like really imbalanced.
mm,
Okay, like, so if your vibration is like positive, and also you have this like part which is fearful, right? So
yeah,
you have a little bit of fear somewhere in your
yeah,
vibration. They actually love fear, so they want
yeah,
to like fear, so they can do that. Okay, like, so I believe in, as a channeler, just it's very important to stay, just notice your vibrations, right? Like throughout the day, even throughout the day, when you wake up in the mornings and stuff, your vibrations, I believe, even you as a channeler, like you need to be like conscious of your vibration, like
oh yeah,
just ask yourself, am I feeling right? Just ask yourself, like, how am I feeling? If you are feeling good, like, that's good, great. Okay, if you're feeling positive, awesome, right? But if
yeah,
you're feeling negative, fear, there is something you need to work before you enter into channeling, right?
yeah.
Because you don't want to take in the fear vibration, right? So yeah,
And
that's
what's interesting about that is, so I told you there's 10 sessions in my book that I went and did. Two of them, there's no channeling. The first one, I told you I had that dip in my vibration. Some stuff happened on the side, but anyways, I couldn't channel. Nothing would come through. And what now, with you saying that, I'm curious if I wouldn't have been in a sacred space or whatever, it's cleared and protected by angels and all that stuff. I'm curious if I would have channeled some negative entities because I was in that lower vibratory state. Like that's, I feel very grateful now that I was in that building, and I'm hoping that that's, I wasn't that vulnerable. But it makes me question now with what you just said. Like, I wonder how many people don't even realize that. And the other part that's scary too is the false light, is the things that really where you think you're doing good and you're getting misled, and that's a whole nother layer to unwrap. But I think that is similar to what you were saying with your vibrational state and understanding that. And one thing they told me, and I'm pretty sure you've mentioned apples quite a few times too, but they said apples are one of the best things for raising your vibration.
yeah.
And the water trick also that you mentioned earlier with saying the good words or blessing it or however you want to put it and drinking it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Like, they say the apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? Like, wow.
Right. But think
It's
about
just,
that
it's,
now with like the knowledge that you have and how much more deep that saying is, right? And it
yeah,
just
yeah,
it's crazy to me to think back, like, well, maybe they knew something way back then that we weren't even aware of, and we're just, thinking about it in our own human way. But there's a huge vibrational aspect to that stuff.
right. Yeah, something is up, like something's different.
Yeah. But Well, hey, Sam, I have had an awesome time. I don't know how much more time that you have. I could talk to you for days on end, I'm sure, but I know it's probably getting late over where you're at. But
Yeah.
I have had an excellent time talking with you, and I hope the viewers have also gotten the same out of it, because this has just been an incredible experience. Um, but is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just like, trust your own self, like, and, like, uh, just use your discernment, like, with your heart, like, listen to the messages, and, because you will know it from within. Okay, like, that's what I'm saying. You will not know it from your mind, right? You'll know it from within. It's something else. And yeah, that's all I want to say, like.
Well, thanks so much, and I appreciate everybody tuning in who stopped by today. And I'll post Sam's links in the comments below so that you guys can check out his videos. They're amazing. He does some awesome work channeling some interdimensional beings, and just so much information that I've learned over the year. I guess not years, a year it's been about, so a little over. Yeah, so it's been so cool to find your channel and to learn the information from you. And then eventually now I feel like the future is us somehow working together and changing the world. So hopefully you're getting the same kind of message, because I think that would be very cool for us to I think there's a lot of stuff that we could do to help people. So
Yeah, there is many things we can do, like, in a collaborative manner,
yeah,
and yeah, it's very interesting, like, maybe in the future, you know let's see, what happens, right? Like,
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't mind
yes.
if you want to stick around after I stop recording. We'll chat for just a minute, and then so, but thanks for everybody tuning in, and I appreciate you guys. And if you want to, definitely check out Sam's YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody.